Welcome to today's video on traffic accident analysis. In this video, we are going to be looking into the concept of traffic accident analysis and also the psychological causes of crashes and accident reconstruction. But before we go into the topic itself, let's take a look at this example. When we have two children playing in the field, maybe in the playground, and maybe their parents are inside, maybe watching the television or having a discussion in the living room, and all of a sudden they heard the cry or the scream of the two children. We know the first um, thing the parents are going to do is to rush down to the playground or wherever the children are, and as far as they could see, maybe there might not be an immediate danger as at that time. The next thing they will do to the kids or they ask is what happened, you know expecting to know the reason why the children screamed, or the reason why maybe they are crying, or what had happened or had conspired between them, that they want to get an information before they can know how to react or act on whatever that had happened. And that is also something similar to the traffic accident analysis, because looking into this concept here, we have the traffic accident analysis is an accident had occurred, yes. So the possible analysis of what had led to that accident is just in a simple way what we're going to be looking at. And traffic accident analysis is a process that is used to understand the causes of accident. So understanding the cause of the accident, identifying the high risk areas of that cause, and implementing measures to improve the road safety. That just encompass what traffic accident analysis is all about. So basically, those three concepts are very much important in this topic. That is the causes of the accident, the causation effect, and the identification of high risk areas, and the implementation of measures to improve road safety. The reason why we have had improvement so far on the road or in traffic, it's because of the analysis. We look into the situations of the accidents that have occurred in the past. What are the causes of some of these accidents? Then researchers and are able to come up with ways at which some of these accidents can be avoided. And there has been improvement almost at every point in time in the area of traffic accident due to some of the analysis that have been gathered from this accident. So this approach is all about studying the who, maybe those who are involved in the accident, the what is the accident, the where the accident occurred, the when at what time did the accident occur, why exactly, does the accident occur, and how of road accident. So these questions are very much important, and the understanding of each and every of those points or these questions helps us to have a good and effective traffic accident analysis. So it is very much important for us to take into consideration the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and the how of any road accident. And some of these accidents helps us to prepare for in the future, for better ways in which some of these things can be avoided. Also, it also involves the collecting and analyzing the data on the accidents, and identifying probably the possible trends, and using some of this information to inform engineers, educators, researchers, or law enforcement on some certain decisions that needs to be made about it. So there are some key aspects that we cannot do without talking about when it comes to the traffic accident analysis, and that is, the first thing is the data collection. Data needs to be collected. And how are some of these data collected? It can be, some of these informations can be gathered from various sources. It might be from the police reports, getting the reports from the police about the occurrence of a certain type of accident over time, maybe in a city, in a area, in a city, in a state, or in a country. And also the accident reconstruction data is also very important, and the road condition is also another data collection source that needs to be looked into. You have to look into the police report, yes, the accident reconstruction data, and also the road condition. So when some of these collections or some of these data have been collected, then the next stage is to now analyze them. And that is more of what this aspect is all about, the analysis of those data. That is identifying the possible patterns and trends in accident data. So is there a common trend in some of these data or some of this information or some of these accidents or some of these um, incidents that happened on the road, maybe such as maybe it might be in form of maybe the type of accident or the location when some of these accidents occur, or the high accident rate in some certain areas or some certain cities, or maybe some factors on the road that contributes to some of these accidents, maybe the driver's behavior, maybe the vehicle type, maybe the road conditions. So these are some of the things that have been analyzed after when some of these data have been collected. So the analysis of some of this data. Then the next thing we have to look at after when the data has been collected, then the data has been analyzed, is looking at the cause in the identification. So what determines the root cause of accident, which may include maybe human error. I already made a video on that earlier. You can check it out on my page. And vehicle defects, road design issues, or environmental factors. If it is the common trend in the city, or based on the analysis, is you notice that most of the vehicles are are defective. So that shows that there is a need to put a lot of enforcement in order, or to make the enforcement decision needs to be made on the regular checks on vehicles in order to prevent the accident occurring as a result of vehicle defect. Or if there is a case of drunk driving, which is becoming a popular trend in that particular city, then it shows that a possible enforcement or a possible decision needs to be made in order to reduce or possibly um, warn drivers on drunk driving. So some of these things are very important to be able to identify the the cause. So the cause identification is very important. So like I said, the key aspect of traffic accident analysis, the first thing it has to do with the data collection. When the data are being collected, then we have to look into the analysis of the data. Then after when we have been able to look into the analysis of that data, then we'll be able to pinpoint the cause identification. That is what led to those accidents, or the the accidents, or any of the road situations that causes the traffic accident. Then after looking into that, the last point we have to look also into is the last point we need to look into is the safety improvement. So since we have been able to pinpoint, or we have been able to identify the cause, then we'll have to put a lot of safety measures in place, safety improvement, by implementing measures to reduce the risk of accidents, such as maybe improving the road infrastructure. It might be by enhancing drivers training, or enforcing traffic laws based on some of the points that we have been able to identify in the course of the data collection, in the course of the analyzing the data, and also identifying the cause effect of some of those accidents. So these 4 points are very important in traffic accident analysis, and this helps to prevent future occurrence of some of this nature of accident. So like we said, it is very important to take into consideration when studying traffic accident analysis, the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, and how of road accident. Then the key aspects we need to also be able to look at in this analysis is the data collection, then the analysis of the data, the cause effect, the cause identification, and the safety improvement of measures put in place. So we'll look into the three levels of accident causes. So what are the levels of the causes of some of these accidents? Because we need to have an understanding of on the causes of some of these accidents. The first level is what we call the proximal or the immediate cause. Looking into this cause in sense of or in the context of accident analysis, the proximate cause refers to maybe the direct or the immediate and reasonably the foreseeable cause of an event or injury. It is more like the event or action that sets off the chain of events leading to the accident. Based on the previous video posted on the page, you can see talking about the human error and the the breakdowns that we have under the human error, leading to what we call the using the model about the cheese and the holes within the cheese, the vulnerabilities. So the proximal or the immediate cause is just talking about the the actions that sets off the chain of events. What sets it off? The immediate, the major thing that sets off the event that leads to the accident and the injury sustained from this accident. So from what we have here as one of the description is looking at the human error. Like the first thing has to be an error by the human or the driver. That is what leads or sets off the cause of the accident. So and also, well, not just the human error we have here, we also have distraction, we have speeding, and we have fatigue, in which some of all these other factors that are or the descriptions here can be under the human error. So that is the first level of the cause of accident. Then the second point we have here is the mediating factors. The word mediating we have there is from the word mediation, maybe standing as a mediator between maybe two things or two situations. So, but in sense of accident or traffic accident analysis, the mediating factors are more like what we can call variables, yes, that explains how one variable affects another rather than acting directly on the outcome. And some of these factors can be thought of as intervening variables that link the cause and effect of an accident. So we call it the cause and effect. They have this cause and effect relationship, yes, if we are going to put it in that way. For example, a mediating factor could be a driver's perception of risk, which might explain the relationship between the driver's experience and the likelihood of engaging in risky driving behavior. And also another mediating factor we can also have can be in form of the road design, the weather, the vehicle malfunction. They can also stand or can be the the mediating factors when it comes to this second level of the cause of accident. So when the road design is not properly done, it can be a factor that leads to an accident on the road, or probably when there is poor weather, or when the vehicles is not well maintained or malfunctioning, that can also lead to accidents. Then the third point we have here is what we call the root or the systemic. So this level considers or it doesn't focus more on maybe the immediate or the direct factors that led to the accident, but this factor or this level um answers the questions why. It reasons the why an accident occur rather than just maybe the immediate or the direct factors. It considers the entire system of interacting factors, maybe such as the human, the technical, the organizational, and the environmental elements. By understanding the systemic cause, this is also very crucial for preventing future accidents by addressing the root issues within the system rather than just acting on the immediate event. We know there is an immediate event that might have happened, but it is also very important to know the why, to be able to answer the question why. Now, from one of the descriptions we have in this slide, it says the driver's training quality. When there is a problem with the training the drivers receive towards the towards being a driver, then it's going to have an effect on the way they act on the road. So that factor is an understanding of why. When a driver is well trained on the expected behaviors on the road, then a driver like that will not engage in will not get drunk while driving, or will not overspeed, or will not engage, or will not drive even when they notice maybe they are too tired. They can either maybe take a cab or take a taxi. Know that maybe probably they shouldn't be distracted. So it answers it's more about the why of understanding the system. And when that system of training is in place that had helped to cultivate that habit and a quality training for drivers, it would help in reducing and help us in addressing the root issues within the system. Another thing is the cultural attitudes and traffic enforcement policies. We've already said over the years, or over in I also explained in the previous videos, that when there are some cities or there are some countries or there are some states that have a poor traffic enforcement policy. Drivers know they can get away with anything they do, or probably when they they go against the policy or the law when it comes to driving. Some of them know they can get away, or they understand that there is a little or a flexible or policy in place that helps to tackle that effect, or maybe when they breach the traffic laws, compared to when some people, some cities or some states knows that when you overspeed, or you you drive while drunk, your license might be taken away from you for about 3 months or 6 months. When there is a strict traffic enforcement policy, it helps drivers to stay alert when it comes to their activities on the road. And these systems helps us to address the root issues within any traffic system. And that is the three levels of accident causes we have here. Then the next slide, we have the types of analysis. We are going to be looking at the various types of analysis we have. The first one, we have the descriptive analysis, we have the causal analysis, and we have the predictive analysis. So for the first one, looking at the descriptive analysis, I think the first thing that comes to mind when you think about descriptive analysis is maybe statistics. Knowing that we have the descriptive statistics, that is the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the descriptive analysis. And this analysis in accident analysis, it involves the act of summarizing and describing the key characteristics of accidents. What are the major characteristics of an accident? We have to understand the location, and this, some of them can be more like the location. It talks about the time, it talks about looking at the severity of the accident and other contributing factors to that accident. So this accident, or this descriptive analysis, looks into the summarizing and describing. So what it does is to summarize and describe the crashed data or the analysis from any form of accident that might happen. And this helps to identify patterns and trends in accident data, and to help to understand what happened, the where, and the when. So that is the question in which the descriptive analysis helps us to answer. It helps us to answer the what, that is what happened at what happened, where it happened, and when it happened. So these are more like the basic questions that the descriptive analysis and accident analysis helps us to answer. Then the second point we have here is the causal analysis. From the word causal, that we have the cause effect. The cause of the accident is another important thing, or is another important aspect in traffic or accident analysis. And that is where, like I said, the causal analysis is the cause. That is where we have the word causal, the cause. So the causal analysis is more like a process of investigating and understanding the cause and effect relationship between the variables and the event or the phenomena or anything that had happened, or the accident that happened. So there is a cause. When there is a cause, then there is going to be an effect, the effect of that cause. Having an understanding of that cause and the effect of that cause of the accident is very important. And that analysis that helps us to have that understanding is what we call the causal analysis. And it involves identifying the factors that influence a particular outcome, and also determining how those factors contribute to the outcome. So from what we have here in the slide, it says it looks at contributing factors, such as what can be the contributing factors. The contributing factors can be the humans, the vehicles, or the environment. And in understanding the causal analysis is also, now this analysis is very much different from when we were looking into maybe the correlation analysis, because this focuses on the statistical relationship between variables without necessarily implying the cause, that is the causation. But the causal analysis helps us to have a better understanding of the cause, though they are very much similar, talking about the causal analysis and also the correlation analysis. But the difference between these two analyses is that The cause analysis helps to give us, it gives a deeper understanding on the cause and effect relationship. It helps to give more breakdown on the cause and effect relationship in the in any occurrence, or maybe the accident, or any phenomenon that might have happened or might have occurred. Then the third point we have here under the types of analysis is the predictive analysis. As we can see here, it says it uses models to forecast crash risk and prevent future incident. Not just that does the predictive analysis does that, but it also uses this data and models to forecast future accident outcomes. Yes, and helps in identifying high risk areas and potential prevent accident. The predictive, when we say something is predictive, that is, it's just a way of making a future reference or a future forecast on what could have happened and how we can prevent it from happening in the future. And this involves analyzing the historical accident data, that is, the trend at which the accident happens, and the roadway analysis. We have to understand the roadway characteristics, the characteristics of the road, and also the traffic patterns. And this will help us to predict the accident severity, and also understand the frequency and the duration at which the accident happened. And by identifying some of those patterns and trends, this predictive analytics helps to inform as in safety interventions. It helps us to be able to come up with possible safety interventions. It helps to improve the traffic flow, and also maybe reduce future accidents. And that is why most of this analysis, each and every of these analysis, play a different role, but coming all together, it comes together in order to help us to prevent the occurrence of an accident, maybe now, an understanding of the accident, and also preventing future incident or accident in the to come. So these analyses are very much important, and the understanding of all these analyses is also important for engineers or researchers in this field. So here we have the head-on matrix, a key tool. It's just a framework to analyze crash based on the phases and the factors. We can see from this table, we have the human, which is more like the phase, and here we have the factor. So what is a pre-crash? Maybe it might be in form of distraction. So the pre-crash, before the crash happens, what is that factor that led to the crash, that might have led to the crash? It might be a distraction, or what we call, or it might also be DUI, that is under the influence, when under the influence. So then when the crash happens, what are the possible things we have? The seatbelt use and the reaction time. So that is under the crash. Then the post crash might be the ability to call for help. So that is under the human phase. But under the vehicle, what could have led to the crash might be the brake condition. So when there is that brake condition, the deployment of what during the crash would help will be the airbag deployment. And the post crash might be the fire safety, maybe before there is a fire incident in the vehicle. Then we have the environment. The pre-crash might be the road lightning. If the road lightning is very bad, most especially at night, we know some areas where the lightnings on the road are very bad, and the crash might be a road barrier, which might also help in those regards. Then the post-crash will be the access to ambulance in order to help um, victims that might have been involved in the crash or in the accident. So we have the common contributing factors. So what are the common contributing factors to this? We have the human factors. The human factors, yes, I will explain a whole lot under this in the on the human errors. So we have the inattention. We see a lot of drivers not paying attention while driving, and not just lack of attention. Maybe it might also be some of their psychological states. Sometimes maybe it's a driver who has just been fired from work, might not really be in the right frame of mind to drive. Or maybe we also see some road users or some pedestrians, making use of their phones while walking on the crossroad, and this is also another contributing factors to some of the accidents. We also have impairments. Maybe someone suffering from some certain health conditions also might also contribute, be a contributing factor. Another point is speeding. When you overspeed beyond the required speed limit is also another contributing factor under the human factors. Then aggressive driving. I think we already made a video also on the aggressive driving and road rage, where we explain the concepts behind aggressive driving. So under the vehicle factors, we have faulty brakes, and this is very much important. And this is also why a regular maintenance of the vehicle is very much important, to be sure that the brakes and every other conditions or every other um, equipment of things within the vehicles are in the right um, in the right working condition. Also, the tire blowout is also another contributing factor to any form of accident or poor maintenance. This is also very much similar to the faulty brakes too. When the maintenance are not done properly, I think in Nigeria we have some people take their cars to for maintenance, and instead of doing the proper maintenance on the vehicle, they just check out maybe what is the major cause of the car making a sound, or maybe the faulty brakes. As at that time they fix it without taking other factors or other things in the vehicle or the maintenance of the vehicle into consideration. And some of these things can also be a contributing factor to traffic accident. We have under the environmental factors the poor signage. You see in some areas where some of the signage or the signs, the the traffic signs are they are not in the place where they should be, maybe as a result of wind, maybe as a result of the weather, or maybe probably they might be as a result of wear and tear in some of the signs. So the proper replacement of some of the signs are very important in order to help people to know that those signs are in place or they are there whenever they are driving. And also the road condition. Here we look into the potholes, talking about maybe the lines that separates the lane. Some of those things also needs to be in the right proportion or in place. But when they are not, and some of these factors are not well maintained, it might lead to traffic accident. Also the weather, I explained that under the poor signage. Also the weather condition also is also another thing that leads to um, traffic accidents. Then we have the systemic system. We already explained that also earlier, talking about the law, the lack of enforcement. I think there are some certain accidents. The moment we notice that some accidents or some nature, or there is a pattern in some level of accident in an area or in a city, it is very important um, to introduce a strict enforcement policy or law regarding those accident, which might be, if in case if it is as a result of the human error, maybe over driving, speeding, or drunk driving. So the strict level of enforcement needs to be in place in order to help that. But when there is lack of enforcement, people feel they can do and whatever they like on the road, and they'll get away with it, since there is lack of enforcement in that regard. Another thing is the bad road design, when the road is not well designed, and inadequate policies in some certain issues. So we know there are some cities that are still not exposed to some certain level of policies of, and that is why some road users can, you know they can act in a certain way, or do some engage in some activities on the road, because there are inadequate policies in that areas, in those cities or in some of those countries. So these are some of the common contributing factors. So we have the psychological method in analysis. So understanding the psychological method in analysis, it takes it away not just about the descriptive that we mentioned earlier, or the causal analysis or the predictive analysis. It is also very important to also look into the psychological method in analysis, talking about interviews, having an interview with some of the survivors of the accident, or some of the witnesses that were in that vicinity or when the accident happened, in order to understand the behavior. And some of these feedbacks helps in proper traffic accident analysis in the future. So we also have the simulation study, and this also helps to test how people react when a crash like condition happens. So this simulation is also important, and from that, a better understanding is also derived from those simulation study. Then we have the driver error typologies, talking about the classifying slips, lapses, and violations. We've- I've also made a video similar to this under the human error, explaining the types of human error, that is the slips, the lapses, and the violation. We also have mistake. So the psychological causes of traffic crashes, that is the key psychological factors. Yes, we've explained. I'll just run through this. We have the inattention and the distraction. Yeah, we have the fatigue and sleep deprivation. You know, can also be a cause of traffic crashes. We see some drivers uh who have spent a lot of time at work, or maybe probably they didn't get enough sleep at night, and going on going to work in the morning or traveling a long distance for hours. And some of this fatigue or sleep deprivation will also have a role to play in their psychological state while driving. So these are some of the possible, also the psychological causes of traffic crashes. So we have overconfidence and optimism bias. Some people believe that, no, I can't be involved in an accident. I know my way around the road. One thing about traffic crashes is that sometimes it's not, you might not be the cause of the accident. It might be as a result of the error of another driver. So the overconfidence in you thinking maybe you might not be involved in an accident not just only talks about you being the cause of the accident, but also understanding that it might be as a result of the mistake or the error of another driver. And understanding that you also have to be very careful and be on the watch out while driving is also very important. So that helps to solve the problem of overconfidence and optimism bias. That is, driver may speed, multitask, or take unnecessary risks, thinking, yes, I've been driving for 40 years, I've been driving for 20 years, so what could happen? I can always manage whatever that happens while driving. So the another point here is the aggression and impulsivity, that is, which can be linked to no girl taking, speeding, and road rage. And I already explained that also under the aspect of aggressive driving and road rage, talking about the intentional effort on the part of the driver in order to cause and harm to maybe any other person or other road users. So these are as a result of maybe aggression, which might be from a psychological point of view. Maybe a driver who has just been fired from work and who is going home and notice that the vehicle in front of him is moving at a slow pace or within the required speed limit. But as a result of that anger, as a result of the frustration, might lead to that driver, tailgating or shouting or yelling at the other drivers on the road. So these are some of the key psychological factors also. Then we have stress and emotional states. Yes, also something similar to what I explained in talking about the high emotional arousal as a result of anger or anxiety or sadness. Someone who is angry after an argument might speed or drive recklessly. So there are some certain expected level of behavior from someone who is angry, and this can also be a key psychological factor that could lead to traffic accident. We have the substance use, maybe drinking, taking cannabis or other drugs might also impair the driver's attention or the ability to stay focused or make the right decision while driving. And this also might also affect their psychological states towards being involved in any form of accident. Then the cognitive load and multitasking. Some people think maybe they can do too many things at a time. And one thing is the brain might not be able to process it, or most especially if suddenly you're on a call and you're driving, thinking maybe nothing is happening on the road, and suddenly the vehicle in front of you decides to press the brake, without any prior notice, or maybe showing that from the rear light. So as a result of that, you might find that the brain might not be able to pick or multitask to know what to how to react in that situation, whether to drop the phone or maybe to also match the brake, because the driver's attention has been divided in the course of driving, and this can also lead to an accident. So the accident reconstruction here says it's more like the scientific process that is in place to analyze a crash in order to determine the possible sequence of that event, and also taking into consideration the contributing factors that led to the crash, and also the likely causes, using some of the physical evidence that might have been gathered at the point of the crash, and some of the technical analysis and human factors data in that. So that is what the accident reconstruction is all about. That is taking into consideration the scientific process of analyzing a crash. And in doing that, it answers questions like what were the speed of the vehicles? When the speed of the vehicles at the point of the crash is being observed or is being noted, it will help to give a proper analysis of the reason or the cause of that accident or that crash, and who had the right of way. This is also another important part. And I think over the years, that was the reason why the concept of right of way was much more introduced when at the point of intersection, knowing which lane has the right of way at a given time at the point of intersection. So it's also very important. And these are some of the questions that needs to be answered using under the accident reconstruction. And also, was the driver distracted or fatigued? That also helps to know if it is as a result of distraction, and what are the possible distractions. Is it as a result of maybe some of the electronic boards or billboards that are in the area? Is it as a result of the advertisements, or is it as a result of some of the activities going on in that particular area? So it is very important to have an understanding of if of what, and if the drivers was distracted, or maybe it's as a result of fatigue. And also, could the crash have been avoided? There are some crash that we know that might have been avoided, and there are some that might be as a result of some natural phenomena. We've talked about the weather, and as a result of maybe leading to maybe when there is an heavy flood or heavy rain or anything that could happen, maybe a thunder strike. So some of these things might some can be avoided, while some might not be avoided. So it's also important to be able to answer the question if that crash could be avoided. Then the key element, the key elements of reconstruction, we have the physical evidence, that is the skid marks and the tire gouges, the debris patterns, the vehicle damage, and the final resting positions of the vehicle. So these are some of the key elements under the physical evidence. We have the scene analysis. We need to have an analysis. We have to analyze the layout of the road. Also understanding the traffic signs and signals, and the role they play in that crash. Also the visibility, that is the lightning and the lighting and the weather. Is the lighting visible enough, or is the weather condition no also a factor that needs to be looked into? So some of these analyses are done at the scene. So this is what we call the scene analysis. And also the sight lines, that is, was something obstructed that led to the crash. So all these things have been analyzed under the scene analysis, which is also a key element in accident reconstruction. So we also have the vehicle data, talking about getting the speed, the brake, and the acceleration of the vehicle. Some of these data can be gotten from the black box, which we call the EDR, that is the event data recorder. So this EDR, or the black box, records the data of the vehicles, taking into consideration the speed, the brake, and the acceleration. And we have some vehicles now that has a camera in them which records every of the activities of the vehicle in the road. So some of um, these cameras or these recorders can be taken into consideration when we're looking into the vehicle data, to know what are the causes, what led to the accident, from by studying the EDR or the camera that is in the vehicle at that time. Then we have the damage severity, is also another key element under the vehicle data. Here we have the human factors. We keep talking about the human factors, which we cannot overemphasize. Talking about the driver's perceptions and reaction time. That is why there is a certain level of distance that is needs to be kept between the vehicle ahead of the one behind. So, a vehicle coming behind knows that you don't move too close to the vehicle in front of you, just in case if there is anything that could have happened on the road, whereby the vehicle ahead might want to, you know hit on the brake. And when you don't give enough distance between the vehicle and the one ahead of you, might lead to maybe a crash, and the reaction time might be too short because of the tailgating, the distance in which you're tailgating the vehicle in front of you. So that can also be another human factor, where we have the distractions or the fatigue. You explained that. And also, did the driver see the hazard? How quickly could they respond? So that is also boiling down to the human factors. Then the psychological state of the road user or the driver is also another key element in reconstruction under the human factors. So that is it under the traffic accident analysis, and I'll see you in the next video.